Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to my fourth episode of the Kid from the Cove podcast. I'm Louis Reese, the host of my podcast. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Jesse Bradshaw. We're going to be going over several topics today going on in the world. I hope everyone can find inspiration and joy in all aspects of what we're going to be speaking about today. So, without further ado, this is my good friend Jesse Bradshaw.
Hi, hold on. Thank you for having me.
Of course. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you about, we kind of touched on it without the cameras rolling and this being recorded. One of the topics that I wanted to talk to you about was simply the fact of everything going on in the world, whether if you agree with the COVID. That's the first topic I would like to speak about. It's the COVID pandemic right now. What is your take on this, and how has this affected you personally?
As far as my take, I am a conservative, but I do believe that the COVID thing is real. I'm not going to say that it's not. But I do also believe that the media has expanded their horizons, so to speak, when it comes to fear mongering. And anybody that doesn't know what that is, you can look that up. I also do believe that a lot of the cases have been inflated. Heard a story not too long ago. A guy got tested 1 week here, came back positive. A couple days later, went and got tested at another location and came back negative. And then immediately later that day, went and got a third one, and it came back negative as well. So I believe that there are issues with the way that it's testing, and I believe that certain locations are inflating the numbers because let's be honest, they get government funding based on their treatment of COVID-19. As far as it affecting me personally, I was out of work for 2.5 months. I'm back at work. I'm an essential business, but there is a chance that with Newsom's new guidelines and shutting down the state of California again, I very well could be going back on furlough. And realistically, that's hurting me paying my bills, and I'm not okay with that. You harm me, I'm okay with it, but you harm my money, I'm not, or my family, I'm definitely not okay with it.
Agreed. So, talking about the inflation of numbers, the cases, and them funding these hospitals that are coming back of having positive results. A friend of mine, she told me that a friend of hers, he is a very close friend of hers, and he basically did exactly what you were speaking about. He got the test, didn't take the test, sent the test back in, and it came back positive, even though there's not an ounce of saliva or anything from the test to get a positive result. Another thing is, I think it's troubling because right now we don't know what to believe with everything going on, and you don't know what to expect or what to believe. But to be a kid and be like, fucking get it! Smack it to the ground and watch it sizzle. Well, I think the only thing that I see with the cases is you have instances where they're paying hospitals $42,000 per case. Yeah. So they say, for example, I've been tested 3 times. They go, Louis Reese has it. They said I don't have it, but if they did come back, they would have made $42,000 off of me coming back saying that I tested positive for it. Yeah. And that's a bit of a fucking problem in the sense that we need to be able to trust what's really going on, and if it's as contagious and if the numbers are as high as we believe, especially when it comes down to people's livelihoods. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to be working for a bank where I work from home, and it does not affect me whatsoever. It just doesn't. My line of business is going to be there. I will be an essential employee till...
Well, I work at a company here in Glendora that we make products for the construction industry. So as far as me going on furlough, it was basically because some of our bigger accounts weren't having products made because they had to be shut down. So But because there wasn't that heavy workload, me being one of the newest members of the company, I got I got sent on furlough with about 8 other people, and out of us 8 or us 9 that went, I think only 6 of us came back.
Wow.
And because realistically, we got to try to. It affects us in the sense that we got bills to pay and family to take care of, and a couple of the guys got job offers for another place making twice as much money, and I think that's great. You got to do right by by your family. Uh, I recently had to go to Kaiser. Uh, I've been having some stomach issues, and I went to Kaiser, and the doctor even said, "We want you to go get tested." So not only did I miss the first 2 days of work, but I had to miss the rest of the week because I had to go get tested and wait 3 to 5 days for the results to come back.
The crazy thing is I got tested 3 times. The last 2 results took 2 weeks to get back.
Huh.
I'm like, that's insane to me. If we're gonna do this testing and that's how you want to find out if people have it at a more, I guess, at a more accurate rate, coming out and with the counties and the states and the cities coming out and saying, hey, these people, we broke records. We had 11,000 new cases in one day. Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You didn't you might have tested that many people in one day, but those results came back on that day. Those results are from 1 week, 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
That's how many people you have tested positive from then to then.
Yeah.
That's when the results coming back. Not in one day. That's insane because it took me 2 weeks. So if it would have came back positive, it would have taken 2 weeks. It would have went towards that daily total the day the result came out.
Yeah.
Not the day I was fucking tested. So is there really 11,000 new cases in one day testing positive?
No. Hell no.
No. So if we had a more accurate testing,
or more rapid
testing, then cases might go from 11,000 a day to maybe 3,000 a day or 5,000 a day.
Well, see,
not 11, and blowing it up to this bigger picture.
That goes back to my fear mongering that is the media. Anybody that challenges me, go look at the history of the news. They have always driven up the numbers just to make everybody terrified. Like when this started happening, you couldn't find a single roll of toilet paper at a grocery store, and then it changed to paper towels, and then eventually the meat case, and then anybody that bought all the meat from Stater Brothers, you're affecting me because I like my red meat. But that's where the whole fear mongering of the media comes in, because they want to inflate those numbers. They want to cause people to freak out, and realistically, I don't know if somebody out there is going to say that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. I look at stats. I look at the statistics. And statistically speaking, the media, since the beginning of time, has always made up their own stories and inflated any numbers just to get a headline and just to get those ratings. So
on their side.
I look at the statistics. I'm not just sitting here spouting
I remember
off.
having a conversation with a buddy of mine about a year ago. And I remember him telling me, he goes, Lewis, it's called paid programming for a fucking reason. He goes, people pay, they get money based off how many people watch their show, by their ratings, by how many people tune in, by how many people continue to follow, and how many people they can get to follow their news. It's hard to call it news because you believe half of it, but it's not the whole truth.
Yeah.
So it's not news. It's your version of the news. It's your version of the truth, not my version of the truth.
And that also ties into why Donald Trump is quick to call companies like CNN fake news, because realistically, they've always inflated the numbers and their statistics to play into their favor. That's why I agree with you on the 11,000 new cases in one day is absolute bullshit.
Yeah, I tell my mom
Because
that every time.
you got to figure that, like, I got a friend of mine that got tested, and then he didn't get his results for almost 3 weeks. I went through Kaiser and I got mine in 3 days. But so a lot of these places, unless you're going to an actual medical facility such as Kaiser, I don't think you're gonna get. They're gonna say that you're positive when you're really not. And as far as all this is concerned, I know this will trigger somebody, but I believe that the COVID-19 will disappear within a week after the November election.
You really believe that?
I really believe that. Because if you look at it, this state is run by Democrats.
It is.
You got Mayor Garcetti for LA,
Yep.
shutting all of LA County down. You got Gavin Newsom that is shutting down all of California.
Yes.
But the only restaurants and wineries that were allowed to be open
On 4th of July
were in fact
things that
Newsom's.
affected them.
So it's one of those things that I feel like this was also unleashed on the American people, because if you look back to when this started, it was within 24 to 48 hours after the impeachment of Donald Trump failed. Just
Okay,
making my opinion.
Okay, I will follow up for that. Because you might have your theories, and I don't want to say I disagree because I've seen the news do crazier stuff.
Yeah.
Right? My thing is okay. With the whole impeachment and then coming out right 2 days after the thing, this was confirmed though by countries. This wasn't like other countries knew about this before the U.S. The U.S. found out, and it used to be a laughing joke. I remember being around friends and someone would call for sneeze and go, you got the Rona.
Yeah.
Right? I know from personal experience, I was very, very ill in November and December of last year, at the end of last year. The same thing that they're saying, that are the symptoms.
Yeah.
I want to get an antibody testing to see if there is those antibodies in me, because I think a lot of people that got very ill at the end of last year believe that might have been it. Who fucking knows? Who knows? Because we don't know.
My parents had it at the beginning of this year. My mom first got sick end of December. Got over it early January. By the end of January, my dad had it, and it all fits into the symptoms. So they feel like they've already had it.
Yeah.
Where I've also seen studies that says people with O-type blood are at least
O plus, O positive.
I'm O negative. So
okay, I'm O positive.
So that studies have shown that people with O-type blood are some of the least likely to get it. So I think that's the only reason I haven't got it. But then again, what do I know? I'm not a doctor.
So my question is, one of my questions is with that is that we might have blown it up bigger than it was, right? Because I know plenty of people that have fought it off.
Yeah.
I've spoken to people that have fought it off. But I also know people that have been around people that had it and haven't caught it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that has to come into effect eventually. You can't keep looking at how many. We can look at the cases, we can look at the deaths. Do I truly believe I think 145, 150,000 deaths that they're reporting? I shared a thing on Facebook. It said COVID related.
Yeah.
Are you doing autopsies? Are you doing autopsies on all 150,000 people to say that they died from COVID? No. Or are you telling me that they died, you tested them, and they had it?
Yeah.
Because there's two different facts that you can take in with that.
Well, that's where the number inflation comes from too in my book, is because you've had, like, I've seen people that were that had died because of something, and then they said, oh, it was COVID related. But realistically, COVID-19 actually has a higher survivability rate than what the media is letting you believe, because it's actually less deadly as the common flu. And a lot of people, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of people die every year because of the common flu.
Yes.
And
True.
that's harder to come back from than this. Whereas this is targeting people that have had previous serious health issues, like the elderly. I actually saw a story that a World War II veteran, 105 years old, I think he was, fought off the swine flu, coronavirus, Agent Orange. Like he had lived through a lot of this stuff, and he's still alive. But that was because he had no major medical issues. Whereas people that have weaker immune systems because of whether it's cancer treatment or whatever, their immune systems are just that. They're weaker. I remember several years back when my son's mother was pregnant. She had to stay with me for about 3 weeks because her mother was going through a breast cancer treatment, and my son's mother actually got a common cold. So, in order to keep her mom from getting deathly ill, she stayed with me because her mom's immune system was shot because of all the chemotherapy and the radiation and everything. So, I feel that this is just more people with outstanding medical issues. And in fact, I actually have a friend of mine that had died due to complications of coronavirus, but he was very vocal a couple years beforehand about undergoing certain treatments. Like I believe he had some type of cancer. I'm not quite sure, but that's all in those are the main cases. What the media is not telling you is how many cases are people that have had those previous medical conditions.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you take vitamins, and listen to me sounding like Hulk Hogan, if you say your prayers, drink your milk, and take your vitamins, realistically you're going to improve your immune system immensely.
1,000%.
And you're going to decrease your chances of getting it. So realistically, if you go to GNC and buy a 90-day supply of multivitamins, like I do,
yeah,
I paid $25 for the bottle, and I'm just fine. And I go out, and honestly, if you couldn't tell, I really don't like wearing the mask. And it's not because I can't breathe or it's hard to breathe in. It's just I feel at that point I'm essentially being a sheep and following what I'm told. Realistically, I do what I'm told, or I do what's expected of me without being told to. And I don't like being told I can or can't do something. So as far as staying home, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go out. I don't have the virus, so my chances of spreading it to somebody else are none. The only time I wear a mask is if I go into the Walmart or something, and it honestly, because I'm not going to get fined for that. A friend of mine up in Northern California owns a business. He stepped out in front of his own business for 2 minutes one day and got a $500 fine for it. For not having his mask.
Tell him to kiss my ass.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, I think everything is just blown way out of proportion, and I got people with opposite views of me screaming and yelling at me, just wear your fucking mask, wear your fucking mask. I'll wear my mask when I feel like I'm going to be the most susceptible to either contracting or spreading, which I'm not spreading because I don't have it. I have the test results to prove it.
Okay, let me ask you this. You didn't have it when you tested.
No.
You didn't have it You didn't have it when you got tested. You didn't have it when the result came back. But do you think that you could still catch it, even going to stores, like that kind of stuff? Because I don't wear a mask. I hate wearing a mask. I don't like wearing the mask. I'll wear the mask if it makes people feel better about themselves. That's it.
Yeah.
I know that I didn't have it, but to say I know I don't have it and I have results to prove it, I agree with you. I have the same results.
Yeah.
I have 3 of them, but that's from 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So within that 3 weeks, I might have it right now. I
Yeah.
don't think I do, but I know I tested negative 3 times. And I know I tested negative 3 weeks ago.
I got tested 2 weeks ago. So
no, you don't. I don't have it
very
after 3 weeks
well.
ago. So we most likely don't have it.
Please.
Thank you.
But realistically, you got to look at it. You and I are both relatively healthy. Like,
yeah, like I
doctor looks at me, I'm about 100 pounds overweight, but but I'm 6'2", so anybody that's 6'2" and doesn't go to the gym 4 times a day, they should expect to weigh about 300 plus pounds. So
hey, I was there. I get it. I fucking get it.
But I am healthy. I have had no major medical issues. I had a stomach infection that I was treated for about 6 months ago. But other than that, that's it. I'm not worried about it.
I agree. I'm not worried about it. I take care of myself. I take C, B6, and E vitamins every single day. I work out every day. I take care of myself every day. I work out every day. I push my only concern with the whole thing was I have asthma. If I do contract it, how would my lungs react? That's the only thing. Besides that, I think my immune system is pretty strong. Not saying my lungs are a bunch of bitches. My lungs will be a bitch, right?
But I hate doing cardio.
Like, my lungs are motherfuckers, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, my immune system, my ability to not get sick, I'm not worried about catching shit.
I mean, I'm 31. I've smoked for the better part of 20 years, so I expect my lungs not to be in the greatest of shape, but the rest of me is...
I was 10 smoking a cigar on the porch.
But, I just think that the only reason that I wear the mask personally is when, in fact, I'm going into Walmart or something like that, because I know it's going to make the person behind me in line feel more comfortable, which that reminds me, I got to go there today. It's going to make them feel more comfortable about being within the 6 feet of me.
Yep.
Because I have it on. And realistically, yes, I'm a conservative, but I'm not one of those conservatives that's just going to go out there picking a fight, because I'm not like that. I've always been one of those that if a fight comes to me, you finish it, but don't go looking for one.
Yeah.
And I do have to say this, though, about the coronavirus. With all the stupid shit that I've done in my life, if I die from touching my beard, I'm going to be pissed.
I said the same shit. When my dad comes home one day, I'm working, he's like, Lewis, you don't want to shave that beard, right? I'm like, fuck no, I ain't shaving it. He's like, oh, well, good, because the news says that you can catch, the Rona could be in your beard and you not have it. And if you touch your beard, you'll catch it. I'm like, what? It could be on my fucking face. But I gotta wear a mask in case I cough or sneeze, but they can be in my fucking hair on my face. The fuck out of here. I'm not wearing. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not shaving because of Rona. Fucking hell, man. It's not happening.
No, hell no.
I'm like, well, we're all gonna be fucking New York Yankees, clean shaved for the rest of our fucking life?
No, hell no.
Out of here.
Seriously. Plus, this actually started as a middle finger to an ex. She liked me with hair on my head and clean shaven. But after her and I broke up, I went the exact opposite just to piss her off. I kind of liked the way this looked, so I kept it.
I'm with you. I was having a struggle with myself. One day I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, I need a haircut. Everything's closed. I'll never forget. So we were watching the UFC fights, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to shave my head. And Mom's like, she was like, oh, you're going to shave your head. I said, yeah, I'll be right back. Got my fucking buzzer, zipped it, right? Shave my head every 2 weeks. Every time I get paid, I shave my head. I'm like, if I'm gonna shave the head, I'm gonna grow the beard out. I'm not
Right.
gonna shave the beard. The beard it looks cleaner with the shaved head and the beard.
I look at pictures of me back in the day when I was completely clean shaven, shaved head, shaved face,
Everything.
and it's like, first of all, you can see my double chin, which annoys the shit out of me. But it was also, I just look weird. I look like I'm 12 years old, and I don't like it.
Right. The older I got, I looked at photos when I was like 20, 19,
Yeah.
clean shaved, like a little stubble. I'm like, look at that fucking 3. You got 3 fucking chins, Lewis. Hide that shit. Like, God damn, man.
Yeah. But anyway.
All right.
So what else you got for me?
Something else I want to talk about is
the aliens are coming.
Oh man. All right.
I know that probably upset somebody. To the conspiracy theorist living in his bunker in the middle of Nebraska, the aliens are
coming. Let's
go
to 29 Palms. Let's go find those fucks.
But see, like, just because I kind of brought that up, I look at everything. I try to look at everything with statistics and logic. Like, unlike most liberals, just because I got to piss somebody off. Unlike most liberals, I look at everything with statistics and I look at it from logic. And you can't tell me that this is the only planet, in not just our solar system, but in this universe that has living life form. Sorry, but kind of really hard to believe.
Do you really believe that?
Yes.
You truly believe
I believe that we are not alone.
There's a living organism, just like us, on another planet right now?
Probably a lot smarter, too.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean...
Smarter than Americans?
I mean, given everything that's going on in the world right now, and the whole point of this podcast, there's a living life form out there somewhere, and I don't have proof, but I'm a firm believer. I also believe in ghosts, too, so...
I believe in ghosts, yeah. So what
I don't believe in Bigfoot, though.
Have you seen that commercial? Like, Bigfoot. She goes, I'm sorry, Bigfoot. And he goes, Bigfoot. My name's Daryl.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, my dad's name's Daryl. We're sitting there one day, and he goes, we're watching the game on for the first time right in front of us, like 2 days ago. I was laughing my fucking ass off. It's such a simplified fucking line that made me laugh my fucking ass off. Honestly, what I wanted to ask, or what I wanted to talk about, is with everything going on, with raising tensions amongst Americans right now, I believe there's a bigger thing coming in November with the election. And I feel like, in a weird way, this is one of the most crucial elections. I know, since being an adult, I voted for 2 presidents, right? I voted for Obama his last term. It was my first time voting.
I'm sorry.
I thought it was a lot.
Everybody has their own opinion.
You're right. I was 18. I was right out of high school, and I was like,
you were naive.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I got you.
It was either him or McCain.
Yeah,
I thought Obama was articulate and a smart guy.
Well
spoken.
Well, everybody also thought Adolf Hitler was too. I mean, seriously. Look at history. Look at history. Adolf Hitler was very articulate and well spoken too, and look how that turned out.
Articulate or angry?
I've read Mein Kampf.
Okay.
And angry, no. No, because I look at it from this perspective. If you really go back and look at history, because I'm a big history buff, if you look at history and look at post-World War I Germany, in a worse economy than what this country's ever been in, being fined by the United Nations or by every other country for starting the war, and just the homeless level was through the roof, bigger than this entire country combined. And then you look at what he said, basically everything that he said he was going to do, he did. In fact, he brought back Germany to a prosperous nation, and in fact was one of the superpowers in the world. But now, granted, so not everybody's head explodes.
He was a
If your
piece of
head's
shit.
still intact, he was a piece of shit in the aspect of syphilis spread to his brain and caused him to go mental.
Yes.
But it, one of the owners at my work is from Germany, and I've actually had the conversation with him and a few other people that grew up in Germany. And in German schools, they teach about Adolf Hitler as a man, as a person, not as his leadership,
Boring
as
dictator.
not as a dictator, because of what he did great for the country. And yes, there are those bad moments,
Bad
but
moments.
there were there were bad things that he had done.
I mean,
But they talk about the good that he did, because realistically, if you look at everything that he did for the country,
do you
if you go back and actually look at all the facts, he did more good for the country than he did harm. And I'm not
believe that?
I'm not
I mean,
promoting extermination of anybody that's not white. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of hate for this, but I look at facts, and fact is that country was a complete shithole that people in other third world countries
because so he
are
turned it
happy that they are living in the country that they're in, and he brought it back to being a prosperous nation. Like, if you really look at the facts, but you have to actually look at them. You can't just.
Agreed. I agree with you that he might have brought prosperous times for the people, for the German people. At the end of the day, though, it's hard to say he brought good to a country that literally, because of his message and his voice and his vision of what they did to Jewish people,
Yeah.
is fucking mind that should outweigh anything good that motherfucker ever did.
Yeah.
So I get looking at it like, okay, he did more good stuff than bad stuff, but the bad stuff outweighs that good shit that he did for that country, and he's a learning example for tons of people.
And you know what? Like, I don't believe that the bad outweighs the good, in the sense of in the sense of everything totaled up. I think if anything, it kind of, like, to me, it just kind of
Waited out.
weighted
Even playing field?
it made it a little bit a level of a playing field, because of the fact that for as much good as he did as much bad. So realistically,
Let me ask you this, and I see what you're saying. But I just want to ask you this: if someone came into the U.S., right, where say we're going downhill, I believe the U.S. is
Which
still
we are.
pretty prosperous, and we are going downhill a little bit with all aspects of the country. If someone came in and said, "We're going to start exterminating and killing white people,"
which I feel like is happening already,
the same way he did to Jewish people, would your outlook be, you know what, he did a lot of good for us, for everyone else, but you know what, he zapped out the bad white people, or all white people because we're white? Would your opinion on this matter change a little bit if that was us, if we were in their shoes at that time? Because sure, it was a prosperous time for the German people. If you weren't fucking Jewish, sure.
To be perfectly honest, I can't really comment on it because I've never been in a situation like that. So I can't.
You see what I'm saying?
But and like you told me, is like, you want my opinion, and that's realistically my opinion. Like,
agreed.
I have spoken to friends who are Jewish and their families, and I actually had the opportunity a few years back to actually speak to a Holocaust survivor for a brief time. But they even said that what he did good for the country was fantastic. They gave him credit for it. But the one biggest thing, and kind of changing gears from this topic into current day, is Adolf Hitler was quick to go around and tear down monuments and erase the country's history. And realistically, and in the news, that's what's going on with the United States. We got people tearing down statues of whether they were some have been slave traders, some were people who worked to free the slaves, or people that were anti-slave. Like it, we got people trying to erase our history. I saw a quote uh, earlier, and I can't for the life of me remember it, so I'm going to do the best to. Uh, all history, good or bad, should be left alone because then that way we guarantee that we don't go back to it. We can never forget it. We always have to remember the good or the bad. And it's just like your life. I'm sure you remember bad things from your childhood or from your adulthood that
1000%.
like you remember the good and the bad. Well, you remember the bad, so you never go back to that.
Yeah.
Like I see your posts about your weight loss and shit like that. Like that back then was bad.
Yeah,
And
bad times.
you're remembering it every single day when you make that post because you don't want to go back to that.
1000%.
And realistically, that's
how you learn from it. And
that's your history.
One of my things is I've had people give me some backlash for women giving me that used to be friends giving me backlash saying I'm doing it this for all for the wrong reasons, saying I'm doing it for attention, I'm doing it for likes, I'm doing it for people to like me more. At the end of the day, with those three things, as I've gotten older, I don't give a fuck if people like me or not. At the end of the day, I have myself, I have my family, I have my health, I have my goals, and I have my dreams, and that's it. And there's no one's going to get in my way from stopping that. But I put that as a constant reminder, and I've had people message me that are wanting to go on the same journey and the same path that I'm on.
Yeah.
Hitting me up. What are you eating? What are you doing differently?
Yeah.
What have you done differently to better your life for weight loss and mentally?
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that it's helping other people. Look at my life as an example of being at my highs, being at a low years ago.
Yeah.
Even last year. And looking where I'm at today and what I'm trying to do with my life now. It's a constant reminder, and I'm not going to forget who I was. I'm not going to forget what I used to look like. I'm not going to... It's there for me, and it's there for others to look at and go, this is what you don't do, and this is what you do. And hopefully it inspires others to do what I wanted to do. And I think that's good for human nature. I just believe that it's good for people to inspire others and uplift each other.
Basically, you need that reset.
Yeah.
An example of a reset in my life is... a couple years ago, I moved. I one night said, "Screw it," and I moved. Picked up my life here in Southern California and moved 3,400 miles cross country to Deerfield Beach, Florida. You know what? There was some issues with the move, and after a lot of reflection on the drive there and back here to California, I realized I learned a lot, good and bad. I realized that there was a lot of things that I had a problem with, and I also realized that I kind of ran. I ran, but I did that move in order to try to better myself. And realistically, I do feel that I came back a better man than I moved there in, and also in a way better state of mind. It gave me. I lived there for a year, and honestly, it was the year had its ups and downs, and I had some issues there. And, but realistically, it was a great experience, and I had that reset in my life. And now I do see some similarities creeping up every now and then of me now and how I was back then, but I try to stop them. I got an opportunity to move back out here for fantastic work, great money. At one point in Florida, I was working 3 jobs, so it was one of those things that I learned. I learned that struggle, and I learned that hustle. And fortunately for me, I had my cousin and his girlfriend who I was living with that took me in, and I will admit we had our ups and downs, we had our issues, but that's because all 3 of us are more we try to be the alphas, and three alphas meeting usually doesn't end
Yeah.
up well.
Pit bull fight.
But it was a great experience, and honestly, anybody that's having that struggle, you need to find your reset button. For me, that was my reset. It gave me that opportunity to go, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. Like realistically, for me lately is my debt's getting paid down like big time, um, and fortunately, uh, I've had the ability to make more money in order to pay down those debts and start actually making a life. And I got a great girlfriend right now that,
Congratulations.
thank you. She puts up with my shit and I put up with hers. But is she, like, her and I both have been through struggles as far as relationships and life and everything, and we kind of help each other along.
That's what it's about.
But yeah, so I do recommend that if you ever feel like you're in a rut and you need that reset from life, do it. Whether it's moving across the country or starting a new job or
ending a
career, or even ending a relationship. Now, I'm not telling you just go end your relationship right off the bat. You need to actually find out if that is the root of your problems and then try that, because I did that and I realized the reason I went to Florida was not the reason I should have. So
it's like
you
as
need
soon as
that
I cut that
reset.
bitch loose, I was free as a bird.
But yeah, so if you find that way to hit that reset button, do it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And just don't think twice about it. Because what I've noticed with a lot of people is they'll make a decision and then immediately after they did that, they went, well, I made a mistake, and then they run back to how it was. No, what you got to do is you got to stick it out. You really got to stick it out. Like, to be honest, there were several times living in Florida that I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out, and honestly, one of the biggest giant middle fingers that you can give to somebody is success. It's not revenge; it's success. I mean, in high school, I had my high school counselor tell me that within 6 months of graduation, I was going to be living in a gutter somewhere. And here it is, 13 years later. Yeah, 13 years later, and I'm not living in the gutter. I may not have a whole lot, but what I have is mine. And if you need to hit that reset, do it. Don't think twice about it. Don't second guess yourself, because that's where a lot of people's problems come from, is they second guess. Like every now and then I'll do something stupid, and then immediately after I say that was stupid, but it's not something that I want to go back to that. No, because it goes back to the remember your history, good or bad. Remember it, because then you never go back to it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry,
I got a little on my soapbox there.
So I went on an entanglement, took me off, took me down 2 dirt roads, made a left, got lost, had to turn back around. Where the fuck did I go? Yeah.
But we're back.
One of the things that I see now with everything going on is I don't think people are talking about it, and it kind of irks me out. Is we were talking about the whole Kanye West thing blowing up, and how the media, a lot of platforms are talking about it as we need to bring awareness to mental health. And I was explaining to you that kind of angers me in the sense that I talk to people weekly about mental health and how it's affected people and how it's affected me or my family, and because a celebrity had it at the caliber of Kanye West, now all of a sudden it's catching traction and they want to have a discussion about it now. When I think if you were to look at the suicide rate of this country, it's more than just a little problem. Yeah. It's not a little itch that we can just kind of, you know what I mean? We can just kind of wipe away and people will be fine, because that's not the case.
And to your point, I agree that mental health is a big thing, but the problem is nobody really cares until it's a celebrity. Um, I had mental health issues actually affect my family. My uncle committed suicide. Who's never been a depressed or a super depressed man or suicidal in any way, but he eventually just had enough and
Snap.
took his own life. It is a real topic to talk about, and I've actually taken mental health days from work because it's been one of those things that it's like I'm driving myself into the ground. I'm making myself sick. I'm nonstop working, like doing this, doing that, and realistically, every now and then, if you feel like you're going to lose it, just take a day and just call out of work, just do whatever you got to do, and just honestly lock yourself in your room and play a video game, like browse the internet on your phone or your laptop or whatever, and just
Go for a hike, maybe.
Like go for a hike or a drive. Anytime I got a lot on my mind, I just hop in the car and I go for a drive with no destination. And literally, I've ended up out past. I've ended up in Beaumont or Ukaipa or hell. One day I actually ended up out in Needles just because I went for a drive, got on the freeway, and just kept driving. And I was thinking, and you gotta do what you can to.
And I think the thing is there's not one specific answer. There isn't one article that you can read that'll just go, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Exit. I truly believe everyone's different. So
you gotta find your happy place.
Exactly. My thing was like even yesterday, I was sitting in my house and I was working all day and I felt just depressed like a bag of shit, like a bag of dicks. And I go,
big satchel of Richards.
I know, right? I go, what can I do? And I honestly kept thinking, like, usually I work out to feel better.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I'm like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to do anything. I literally just wanted to cry. I just wanted to sit there. And I'm like, stop being a bitch. Literally, a friend of mine, she called me. And I started crying. And she goes, are you crying? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm being a little bitch right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I just don't feel good. I don't feel well. I don't feel okay. I don't feel happy. I don't know how to explain it. It's an unexplainable emotion.
Yeah.
So I did a workout. When I got done, I felt a little better, but not a lot better. So I went for a run. I got done with the run. When I got home, I'm like, I feel okay. Took a shower, went to go smoke hookah with a couple of friends, talked to them. His name's Trigger, and he's got a girlfriend named Jessica. I'm sitting there and I'm talking to them, and that made me feel so much better. I got home. The same girl that called me when I got off of work or I was crying, literally calls me. And she's like, how you doing? And I'm like singing, I'm like laughing, I'm singing the song. And she's like, you doing better? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, so what was wrong? I go, you keep asking me what was wrong. I don't know what was wrong.
Yeah.
There wasn't a specific topic where I was disappointed. I just kept, my mind just kept reserving back to an idea of like, you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, you're scum, you're scum, you're scum. And I didn't know how to explain it. So I just told her, I don't know. And it's there's nothing you can do for me. Like, honestly, I just need time to myself in a weird way.
I mean, I've had those days myself. Actually, fairly recently too. I started remembering like I had an ex just randomly hit me up one day, and like it was completely random, and I felt better after our little conversation through Facebook Messenger.
Same here. I got some shit to tell
you. Like, because it was one of those things that she constantly made me feel like I wasn't wanted, wasn't needed, and the only reason I was around was just for her lay. Like, that's pretty much exactly how she made me feel. And it was one of those things that it wasn't until after that conversation, I literally just put on some music on my phone, put my headphones in, and I played a video game that usually I play to numb my mind for a couple hours, and it with no sound on it, just all music, and I brought myself out of it because you always have those memories that come up every now and then that kind of make you think I'm a piece of shit for this or I'm a piece of shit for that. realistically, it's all about your perspective. For me, and when I say you got to find your safe, or your not your safe space, I think that's stupid, but your happy place. For me, it's either in a car driving, uh, playing a video game, or even for me as a professional wrestling fan, watching wrestling.
There you go.
I've been completely just depressed, and I sit down and watch a few hours of wrestling and
Feel better.
immediately feel better.
Dude, this might sound cheesy as shit. My dad, my father and I, we went to Vegas in January to watch Conor McGregor fight his last fight against Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah.
I was there. I watched it live. I have recordings of everything. It's all on my phone. I can even watch the whole fight on my phone. It's only 40 seconds, right?
Yeah.
My dad, when we got back, it was on ESPN when the lockdown started happening. So he recorded the fight. When I get home after work, if I'm stressed or I feel fucking just depressed, I'll literally play the recording of the televised portion of the fight, even though I can watch it on my phone literally whenever I want. I'll watch fights just to put my mind in a different aspect of reality right now.
To that point, I have the WWE Network, and like I can go back to a match that me as a kid, like I've been a fan of wrestling since I was 5, 6. So, and I'm 31 now, so I've been a fan that long. So, like, I'll go back and I'll watch something like from some of my favorite wrestlers, the main one being Stone Cold. I'll go back and I'll watch a match or a promo or something that he cut, and it kind of throws me back to when I was a kid and I didn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Like you're like
doing
my homework.
You're like in the tunnel about to go fuck some shit up. And you all of a sudden you feel like you're him a little bit. You're like, oh,
yeah,
go fuck some shit up right now.
You gotta find your happy place. Whatever makes you happy, you gotta work on your own mental health. And realistically, what people need to do is they need to work on their own before they can help somebody else with theirs.
Agreed.
Like I've had people reach out to me and say I'm depressed, I'm going through this, and there's been times where I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't help you because I'm going through that myself. And when it comes to mental health, like you kind of need to be, for the most part, you kind of need to be on your own. Like, or unless you feel more comfortable, like if Lewis called me tomorrow and said I just need to talk, he can call me or come over to my house. Shit, I'll make some coffee. I got iced tea in the fridge or whatever. Or hell, I'll even go get a couple beers for us to just drink and
talk.
just talk. Because realistically, like, there's been times where I've just needed somebody to vent to, and whether it's the girlfriend or either one of my parents. And a lot of times I'll call them or I'll just call them and say, look, I need to vent. I'm going to go off. Just let me do it. Because even if it's just venting about something, you immediately feel better. Whether you're talking to somebody or at somebody, you feel better about yourself because you're able to get those feelings that you just need to let out. And a lot of times just yelling them at somebody helps.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, shit, I tell everybody all the time, if you're having an issue with something, you know what? Call me. I'll tell you if I can help you or not. There's a lot of times where I can't give you advice, but I'll listen to what you got to say. And because realistically, in that time, by the time you're done, you're gonna go, wait a minute, okay, so maybe I should just do this.
Yeah, agreed.
And like you're gonna come up with your own answer. So just try to find what makes you happy, and then do that, or whatever it is, and then try not to think about all the negative. Just think about all the good that you've done. But that's just how I look at it.
Agreed. So the time is almost up. If you had one message to give out to people during these times, or life advice, what would you say?
Never accept people making you feel less than what you're worth. Whether it's a job, a relationship, or whatever. Never accept it. You just gotta try to figure out what makes you happy and makes you takes you back. Like even if it takes you back to your childhood, if it's a video game, play that game. Um, but don't ever let anybody
Thank
uh,
you.
don't ever let anybody decrease your personal value.
There you go.
That's all I gotta say.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys all enjoy this video. The audio version will be on Spotify and Anchor FM, Anchor the app. I'm going to be uploading the video to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube on my official YouTube page, the Kid from the Cove podcast YouTube channel. If you want to find this on Instagram, my Instagram is the Kid from the Cove podcast. So it's TKFTC_podcast on Instagram, and it'll be on my Facebook under Louis Reese. I hope you guys all enjoyed, but I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless.
Yeah.